Yeah,
Just go ahead.
yeah. Uh, what is it? If the fetus is a person, then pro-life is true, and the fetus is a person, pro-life is true.
If the fetus is a person, pro-life is true. The fetus is a person, therefore pro-life is true.
Yeah,
Why does the fetus being a person necessitate that pro-life is true?
yeah. When we talk about pro-life, it just talks about the moral value of the entity. And then it just talks about if the entity of the fetus is valuable. And then I just take some PID thesis to talk about a category of value.
I don't know. Well, you might have to define what a PCS value. I don't know what that is, but whenever you say
What?
moral value, it depends. When you say moral value, are you just talking about like weight in society, or are you talking about some extra mental value ascribed to the thing? Because I feel like
Like a
if there's
meta,
just something
like
within
something
society,
metaphysical.
I could grant you that there's value, but we could say that like comparing that hypothesis to a counter rival hypothesis that says like, for example, the value of the woman's autonomy or sanctity or even just mental freedom or a bodily autonomy also has an equal amount or a superior
Wait, if you're gonna defend,
value.
okay, I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to defend bodily autonomy, we can get into that.
No, I'm just saying. Well, I'm not even giving that an example. I'm just saying that there's possible alternative
Okay.
hypotheses that are directly rivaling the idea that this value is going to
I mean,
take
that's
some
fine.
precedent or priority over such a thing. If those things take priority,
Okay, I
I don't
agree
know why
that
you see
there's
this
like a
line.
rival. I
Okay,
agree that
so
there's like
but
some rival
if they
hypothesis, but
take
I don't
if
know.
they take priority, when you say pro life, like can you define pro life? Is pro life saying that there's just moral value to the fetus, or is it saying that this moral value is taking precedence over the needs or wants of pro choice, which is just to say that a woman's choice to take precedence over the life of the fetus? Like that's what I'm a
Okay,
little bit confused about.
okay. I mean, the way I take pro-life simpliciter is just to say that the fetus has value. Full stop.
I think that I'll give you and see this is why I think I could accept the argument or parts of the argument to say that, for example, you would say that fetus is a human or a person with et cetera, like that's fine, but that doesn't necessitate the conclusion because based upon what you just said, like the definitions of
Wait, did you not
simpliciter.
just? Wait, did you not just? Okay, wait, I'm
No,
confused.
no,
What was
no.
that first part for them?
The first point is just to say that, just reiterating what I said earlier. The idea that the fetus is a person does not necessitate the conclusion of the argument. And I was going back into what you just said just now, which is that simpliciter
Okay, wait,
pro
wait,
life
wait,
is saying
wait.
that there's moral value to the fetus. I don't think that anyone denies, or I don't think in like in literature or even in political semantics or debate culture that we deny that there's value to such a thing. Like we value even cells in a like an empty domain, even if people aren't like observing it or being around it. We value trees, for example, right? But that doesn't mean that, well, we value trees over the paper it can produce. So whenever we're talking about pro-life, typically, at least under my understanding, is when not that we're just saying that there's a value to this thing, but the value of this thing takes precedence over the wants or the needs of a pro-life position. So, sorry, no, not pro-life, pro-choice
Pro
position.
choice.
So basically, what I'm saying right now is you have an overgeneration of pro-lifers, if this is actually your definition, because that's compatible with being pro-choice. Someone could say, "I'm pro-choice," although I understand that there's value to this fetus. This doesn't take precedence over the wants and needs of a woman who it could literally just be them not wanting to have a kid, if that makes any sense. I can reduce
Okay, I
that
mean,
if that was a
I
little
think
bit
most
long-winded.
theses, aside from a what is it, PID thesis, can account for ways that things that like the PID thesis, what is it, can account for. Like most of them can either take like a harm account, and then I think those harm accounts fail, um, on most views because they can't account for like maybe coma cases, or they can't account for the coma baby or some stuff like that. So I think most other theses aside from the PID one fail.
What's PID? I don't know that.
Personal identity.
Personal identity. Are you talking like when you say personal identity? What are you referring to there? Are you talking about autonomy or like I'm confused?
It talks about how a person persists.
How a person persists.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a
How a
little bit
person
confused.
or
Can you explain?
persons.
Yeah. Okay. Can you expand upon like what I guess maybe I'm not tracking like the relevancy specifically to like how we weigh which account there is taking like a precedence or value over over another one.
Yeah, well, that's how. Okay, well, that's how most people like ground value. Like most people either say that the thing is valuable because it's harmed. Like most people would say that like you probably shouldn't do something because it's conducive of harm. Like most
Hmm.
utilitarians, most act utilitarians. Um,
Yeah.
then there's like a substantive category of harm, which states that the entity can only be harmed if and only if what is it's an object that can produce those types of like states. Like
When you say
maybe,
harm there,
wait,
I
sorry,
don't
I gotta
know.
pause.
I don't. Sorry, did I cut you off? Hello. Sorry.
No, but
Okay,
what is it? Just
when you
continue.
say harm there, I feel like I need to. I maybe like you could give more of an exhaustive account because I feel that depending on how we look at this value or like maybe we'd have to examine what you think the extent to the
You
value
have to
of
do
this
something.
fetus or of this thing is because I don't think you've really posited anything like
Yo,
analytically or
mama's calling me.
synthetically such thus far. Okay, good.
Fucking hell. Prophecy, bro.
Also, I don't know if Flo or Kilo or I don't know Prophecy wants to judge, but I don't really mind with any of those
You
people.
said Kilo as the judge, bro.
I don't know how good Kilo is. Apparently, he slams me.
Of
He
course.
does.
I'll
He
accept
does
chaos as
slam you,
well.
bro.
Even that's my little bro.
What? What you said?
I'll accept chaos, although that's my little bro.
I don't know about that one, nigga.
Why do you? I love when people say that. Like you try to say nigga, and it sounds like you said the hard R. You said nigga, nigga. Like that's how it came out, bro. But no, you could be better than me at the debate and still be my little bro. Like in real life, I'll like pick you up and just like you know what I'm
Poop
saying
poop.
like shake you for your money,
Hey,
Yeah,
yo.
bro.
Are you not
take
above
your lunch
fucking
money,
chaos? What the fuck is wrong
Oh
with you, bro?
God, nigga.
Y'all are
Like,
just
what?
nigga.
wasting your
Bro,
Chaos is
who taught
6'10",
you how to say the N word? Chaos,
200
like did you
pounds, pure
nigga?
fucking muscle, bro.
Bro, where's Tulip? Like, I'm
Wait,
genuinely running
bitch.
out of time.
Yo,
Bro,
2K.
Chaos got nigga rhetoric, bro. It's tough though.
No,
It's
I'm
tough.
not gonna lie. I can't even hate because I used to say it the same way. You have like you have like Atlanta, like that's how like Atlanta niggas say it, bro. Like that's how
Nick.
they
All right,
sound.
my fault, my fault, my fault, my fault, my fault.
What's up? You're back.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'll
What
just repeat what I
phone?
was saying. I want you to give an exhaustive account of like or some harm account here that you think is occurring because I say, for example,
Wait, why don't you give a harm
like
account?
harm, like minute, like depending on like what harms you think are happening or to the extent of
Wait,
like
why do I need to give a harm account?
Okay, I'll explain to you. That's what I was about to say. Because I could grant you that there's harm there, but if the harm is minute, such as like saying that, for example, like when I drive to work, although this minutely harms the environment, maybe I'm going to a power plant that's helping use like solar panel energy, which overall is reducing the amount of harm to the planet. When you gave the utilitarian, when you give the utilitarian account, just saying that or just showing that whichever harm there, whichever minute harm leads to greater goods. If the minute harm leads to greater goods, and the harm doesn't even seem to be doing anything like
Um,
substantive to
okay,
either party, then I don't see why. Like I don't see why when you say,
I
"Oh,
got
there's a harm here," like that's not something I can accept. Like it's still, once again, it's still compatible with saying like I can be pro-choice, except that there's a minute harm, but the harm is not that for which is causing large moral degradations or issues, and it's that for which is actually creating more happiness and how you say fulfillment in society.
you. Okay, just to be clear, I don't
Let's
know
be
why I
clear.
would need to give a harm theory because I'm not writing a harm theoretic. I'm writing a substance theoretic.
Okay,
Um,
when you say
I
what is
don't
that
cash
then?
out harm in my view. I don't know where you
Okay,
got that from.
what is substance? What is the substance theoretic?
It just talks about whether or not the entity is, a value.
A value. Okay, well that's what we're well, that's what the whole harm theoretic is looking at. Well, whenever you say there's value there, we're saying like why is this binding the worldview? We can accept that there's value, but that doesn't bind or force the conclusion or force the worldview. We can say once again, like, oh, me not brushing my teeth, or I forgot to take out the trash, like that causes some minute harm, or even maybe I parked somewhere I wasn't supposed to, but that ticket or maybe going to the dentist, the productions of such a the productions of such an action actually outweigh the harms or the seeming negatives of the thing. So when you say substance value, like once again, this goes back into the issue of overgeneration. It seems that if there's an overgeneration of the view or of I guess you could say people who are pro-life, then if there's non-exclusivity, if there is an exclusivity, then the word or the semantics or the position kind of loses its meaning and it becomes arbitrary.
Okay, first I want to flag that last point. You know that shit does not matter to the conversation. Okay.
What
And
doesn't
then I just want to
specifically?
flag that the first part of the conversation where I pointed out where I'm running a substance theoretic, and then I cast that out to you, you realized that that I'm not actually accepting the harm theoretic, and then you use the harm theoretic to try to disprove my view. I just want to flag that.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just want to be clear here. I don't think that the object matters if it can be harmed. Like I think the object can react to the stimulus of harm. I also don't think harm is a product of like hedonic states or anything like that. I think harm is like a nature product. Just to be clear. So I don't think the entity being harmed means anything. I don't think that's meaningful. I think that the entity has to be a character of being, because if it's not of that category, then I don't think it can be valuable. I mean, yeah, and then I
Okay.
also don't think harm produces value. Just to be clear.
Okay, you don't think the harm produces value, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't like affect the valuation of what we say is, I guess, good or bad there. There was something I think you said something about like deontic. I'm not gonna lie, I did not check exactly what you said. So you can maybe define that for me. And then my question after that though is even getting rid of like the harm theoretic, I guess like once again when we're looking into these accounts of what's morally permissible or morally impermissible, I'm asking you why something having value simpliciter forces the conclusion of your argument, because we can say that the other position has equal to that of or more value
Just to be
such
clear,
that we
nobody said
prefer
value
it. And
simplicity.
it even seemed like earlier in discussion, maybe like you forgot, but you even conceded like, oh, that's fine. You can say that those things do exist and those accounts do have maybe those edges over your account. So like once again, if the entire
No,
conversation of
I
pro-life
agree
is in
to
the
no, I
context of
agree to them.
against
No, wait, wait,
pro-choice,
wait, wait, wait. I
then
agree that
that
those.
would kind of be a
Wait,
sound
calm down.
concession, you know?
Wait, calm down, calm down.
Go
I
ahead.
agree that those cases do exist and that those cases are something that negate my view, but I'm not saying that they're true. That doesn't admit the truthness of them. I don't know what that was supposed to do for you in the conversation. I think you failed on that. Just to be clear. Um, but also I don't think that value simpliciter means that the character or the the object inside the woman is a type of subject that we actually have to value. I don't think value simpliciter grants that, but I think value to a specific sense, to a model that I can give you, can actually generate something that's actually valuable.
So when you say you're gonna be saying that pro-life is, I think that's what you said in your argument. It's if P then Q, P therefore Q. Like pro-life was true is the conclusion. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That's correct. Okay. So when you say pro-life is true, if you're saying that these rival accounts or valuations don't negate the view, like when you say like this, all this is, although this is maybe you're saying it's acceptable that it doesn't overall negate the view. Unless you're saying something like in all cases
No, I'm
abortion
not
is wrong.
accepting them. Okay. You're still confused. I'm not accepting those views.
Okay.
I'm not accepting anything about the truthness of them. What I am accepting is that those views exist and that views do rival my view. Yes, I can admit
Okay,
that
well, when
without
I asked
admitting
you,
the truth of
okay,
the
okay, the
proposition.
point, the point of bringing up those views was to ask you for how you're motivating the valuation of your view above these rival accounts. That's the entire point. That's why we went to the harm theoretics to ask you specifically what about this thing having value, because in both views, once again, both views, we can accept that there's value, especially because like it seems that you would prefer you would prefer or you would value the life of the woman with which the object is within, right? So if there's multiple things or there's multiple entities being taken into
Wait,
account here in terms of the valuation, just forget the harm, but just in terms of value, then like clearly there's more pieces to, I guess you could say, this evaluate a puzzle to find or to evaluate um what exactly is preferable. So if you're saying that you understand that these accounts exist, I'm asking you what rules out the real possibility, or even maybe the possible likely the real likelihood that these accounts take precedence over the account that you've posited. I'm asking you essentially to motivate your account.
Okay. What? Okay. I mean, if we want to view
Wait,
this like
before you guys
objectively,
continue, my fucking rec just dismantled like right now. Like I just pinged you.
Do
This
you
shit is
wanna
slow.
take a break?
I wish you guys.
I
I
don't.
wish like,
I don't care.
bro. This is like the one time this ever happened. Hold on.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Listen, we could because it's kind of going circular. I would just like just spend a lot of time. This would probably be the only point we conclude on. We could, if you want to, we can give closings, or they can just judge off of what was already.
They can just
Which one
judge
do you
off of what
want?
they heard.
Okay,
I
that's
don't do
fine.
this.
Since the cutoff, that's a natural ending point. I'll accept any judgment. Flow gives or prophecy gives.
Me, I don't think
Okay.
y'all want me to give judgment. I think prophecy should.
Okay, prophecy.
Goes not listening.
sorry. What am I doing? Wait, I don't know why
You want to give
everyone
judgment,
asked the
or
question.
we can do a post. We can do a post rec judgment if he wasn't paying attention.
Huh? What happened? What are we doing?
Were you listening to the debate?
Yeah, and so you guys kind of just stopped talking.
Yeah. It kind of got cut off because of rec, and like I'm
Yeah.
short on time, so we're just both agreeing. It
Yeah,
can
I could explain it. So I think Tulip even answered this like around the end of the recording, or at least the end of the debate before the recording got cut off. I mean, so the main point is just that he's attributing his different accounts that are negating upon at least the harm account that he's attributing, but you know, that's just what's in question upon what harm account that we should attribute. So I guess Tulip is right on that point. And if that's being attributed, then I think Tulip won.
Okay, that's fine.
Poopy.
Yay, Tulip, you know, yay,
Hey,
Let's
yeah,
go,
Tulip won. Let's get
Tulip.
it, guys.
yay, whoa.
Let's go.
Or fuck you.
Yeah, you can, Rick.